Hi, everyone. My name is Franco Aquino, and I'm here with Julio Benavides, my business partner. And today we're discussing the impact of the coronavirus on the food and restaurant business. And today we're joined by Cesar Prato, who is the CEO of EZtratego. Cesar is a business consulting expert, and he has worked with several different brands, such as Charmania and Juan Valdez Cafe, in order to help them grow in the USA. So Cesar, to get started, please give us a little bit more insight as to what you do. That way people who are watching can get a better idea of your strengths.
Okay, well, basically I specialize in strategy. More than anything else, I focus on growing revenues and profits for my clients based on innovative and disruptive strategies. And I do a lot of mentoring, consulting, and coaching. I do three things at the same time, which is kind of interesting.
Okay. And we follow you on social media, so we know that you always share a lot of different insights as to what's going on in the current space, what's going on in the current economy. And one of the points that Julio and I were discussing was that we really liked the video that you did where you discussed the stimulus package. But before we get into those details, right, what is it that you're currently seeing in this space, the food and restaurant business, with your experience?
Okay, interestingly enough, this has been a really, really good time for food manufacturing, distribution, and retailing, right? Everything that has to do with food manufacturing, especially local clients. I have like two or three of them. One is Moss Pasta, the other one is Rigo's Meal, which is pet food. The other one is Miracle Burger. They have a plant-based burger. It's an artisanal product they just launched. They're doing really great. And I have another client that happens to be a distribution company that distributes all of these three products I told you about. That is also doing really good. We've seen a lot of demand on the retail side. So basically what happens, of course, is that, people are staying at home. Now they're eating more. They're buying more, and they're replenishing their stock because they're kind of nervous of what the situation is, bringing to them. So they're basically, buying more. And once they're at home and they have nothing to do, they eat more also. So it's been really good for that side of the industry. On the other side, restaurants, hospitality, they're not doing good at all. Most of my clients have lost probably, some of them 100% of their revenue, some of them 20%, some of them 50%, some of them 80%. So it affects everybody differently. I would say on the restaurant side, it is a problem, of course, because it's basically customer experience, right? Going into a restaurant and enjoying the food, either if it's fast casual or fast food or casual dining or fine dining. It's always a different experience. Now they cannot offer that experience, and consumers are basically taking out or receiving deliveries if they are, right? And on average, 20 to 30% of revenues of a restaurant, if they're doing great on the delivery takeout side, are comprised of exactly of that segment. So if, everything that has to do with dining in is out, that's a loss of 80% of the revenues right there. Right.
Yeah. And then what do you think, as a restaurant owner, they're definitely taking a toll with this economic downturn. How can they leverage like current stimulus packages, and what can they do to kind of brace through this period of time and make sure they come out winning when this is all over?
Okay, first of all, what I recommend is controlling the expenses, right? So you can negotiate with your landlord because it's a difficult situation, right? And that's like the first thing you should do, because rent is 10% of the revenues as an expense in the food industry, if they're doing great. If they're not doing that good, it could be up to 25%. So that's something you have to watch. The other thing is payroll, of course. Payroll is about 30% of revenue, so that's another big hit. Basically, if you start laying off employees, then you're losing your competitive advantage. These are people that have been trained for a long time. Some of them are very loyal, and some of them are very committed to the brand. So that's a big hit. The other thing, of course, that becomes basically a saving is that, cost of goods sold is a variable expense. It's also tied to the revenue. So, if you're selling less, well, you're buying less. That's a fact of life. So controlling your expenses would be like the first thing you need to do. The other thing is, try to understand what the revenues are. So, for example, as I told you before, if you're doing delivery and takeout, that could be almost 30% of your revenue. So let's say your restaurant, you were doing $50,000 a month. You should be expecting more than $15,000 a month on takeout or delivery if you're doing great. So you need to control the expenses up to a point where you can at least be break even or lose the least amount of money with those revenues, right? The other thing you could do is marketing. I mean, you could, as we were talking a little while ago, I mean, you could use this situation in helping people, in helping basically institutions, hospitals, and anything else. So you can market aggressively your brand because you're contributing to the solution of the problem. That's one of the other things you could do. So you could convert that loss more into investing in marketing, right?
Yeah. I mean, Franco earlier brought up a really good example, which is Ceviche, a local brand here, who is actually getting 50% off all delivery and pickup orders. Franco, is that right?
Yeah, I subscribe to their email list, and I have been getting a lot of those emails, which I think it's a good move in the sense that they remind you that they're open. I have come across a lot of businesses on Instagram that I follow that I haven't been to, but I definitely want to go eat there. That some of them are closing, some of them are deciding not to stay in business, which actually brings me to a question I wanted to ask Cesar, because right now, generally, I've been reading that there's no food shortage in the USA. Right, because demand is still up there. You go to the supermarket, maybe some things aren't readily available, but the supply chain system is still there, where there's still going to be enough food coming in. Right now, is the fact that people are kind of scared and they're going and stocking up on all these items, is that going to increase the cost of food, which would make it more difficult for like restaurant businesses or maybe food producers to, like, I would say, stay in business, right? Because if it becomes a little bit more difficult to be able to get something in stock because maybe other people are bidding for the same type of things, wouldn't it be a little bit more difficult for you to get your hands on it and then sell it?
Yeah, well, those are typically two different distribution channels, right?
Okay.
Everything that has to do with food service is distributed via these big companies like Cisco and US Foods and Cheney Brothers and some others. Those are probably suffering a lot, right? Everything that has to do with retail, grocery, specialty markets, that is booming. But the thing is, on the retail side, they've mostly eliminated all discounts they regularly have.
Yeah.
So that's definitely a spike in prices for the customer. I would say, because there are different distribution channels, that restaurants could be suffering on the supply side. I don't know exactly at this point in time, but meats, for example, that's an important item in any, except the vegans, of course, but in any food item, in any food menu. Sorry, and as you know, meats are very, very variable on their prices. So prices have gone up. And I know that as a fact because Regos buys meat and prices have gone up since the crisis, right?
Okay. So yeah, I mean, and that the reason why I wanted to ask that is because that's one of the things that I've been thinking about, right? If the price goes up there, then it might be more difficult for some companies to be able to provide an incentive for people to come in. And I know that one of the points you brought up, Cesar, is you maybe perhaps discounting your offers isn't the right move because you do hurt some of that value. And I agree with that, right? But in some cases, I think that there are some businesses that might be in some areas where their rent is too high, right? And then now the cost of food is increasing. So they have to do whatever they can to be able to stay in business. So, I mean, I think that's something that's interesting to keep in mind, to think about. But that's where I think it brings us to the point of the video that you shared about the stimulus package, which is something that might be able to help some businesses. So can you kind of give us an idea of what the stimulus package is, and then how can it apply to some of these food and restaurants?
Yeah. Well, basically, this stimulus is designed to maintain all these small businesses open throughout the crisis. That could be, initially about 2 months. It's designed for more or less 4 weeks. Could be a little bit more than that. That would probably bring in another stimulus package probably in the future. I don't know about that yet, but the idea of the government is, okay, we told all these small businesses that they had to close because of this virus crisis, and they closed, right? Now, people went at home, we achieved what we wanted, now we need to help them, right? So that's basically the idea. This is based, it's a grant, that's probably the most important thing, and it's based on your payroll and your expenses. It's specifically designed to maintain you open. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's not really open, but you're
surviving,
close,
right?
Yeah, you're surviving, right?
Yeah, you don't fire people.
Yeah, but the stimulus basically is focused in you as an entrepreneur, not firing people. So you can, there's even a time frame, I think, where you can hire back your employees if you already got rid of them. And you can count them on the payroll in such a way as to receive the full grant, which is about 2 months of full payroll historically as you had. It would also pay you the rent. It would pay utilities. So now, for example, if you have a restaurant, the only thing you have to worry about is cost of goods sold, right? Which, as you know, is variable. So it's great. Now you have your expenses under control, right? What the government wants is for these small businesses to be ready to go once the economy restarts. I'm a strong believer that when the crisis is over, this will start like a rocket. And the great thing about that is that, if small businesses are able to survive this crisis and build the bridge to get to the other side before they need to close, they will be ready to open. Hopefully that will happen. So now what's, the worries of a typical entrepreneur, of a business owner, are different, because if he does access these grants, he will be able to maintain their operation intact for this coming 2 months, okay? And the good thing about it is you're paying your employees, right? So now you need to worry about doing a lot of optimizing on your strategy side, procedures, and everything else, because probably working from home gives you an open opportunity to redesign menus, redesign graphic design, come up with I always say that a revenue acceleration strategy after you open, because one of the critical points there is that if you're average, for example, $50,000 a month before you closed, that you need to get to that point in at least 3 months, right? So you need to assign a strategy to do that right away. Okay. And that's when, companies like yours will help a lot, because they will definitely need very aggressive digital marketing programs to make that happen.
And any other things that you would say are vital to being able to prepare for the economy reboot? I know that some companies, they're making big investments into digital assets right now, or digital technology, where it's a matter of, will they continue using this in the future, or are they going to sell it off later on? And by that I'm referring to, and this applies not necessarily to restaurants or food companies, but maybe some firms that now they're buying these computers, they're buying these cloud systems so that they can always stay in touch. What would you say are some investments that maybe should be made right now and for the future to be able to prepare them?
Well, this will definitely accelerate the online,
the shift,
I would say, ambience of the work, or work ambience, right? And a lot of companies have been promoting this to happen. Some of them are not as aggressive in doing that, and they're paying the cost right now. I would say, everybody needs to learn to work online effectively and productively, because it's not the same thing as working at the office. And the other thing is, I would definitely think that this crisis will accelerate online sales a lot. What we can see after this is over is that average of online sales for most companies will go up very aggressively right after they open, right? Everybody will be prepared to go online immediately, and the consumer will be willing to go online. I don't know about, the trust factor the consumer will have after the crisis is over, but some of them will be, as I call it, early adopters of getting out and resuming their lives as they were. But some of them won't. They'll be more cautious, and that will definitely drive a lot of online sales. I cannot imagine with the economy activated what will happen with Amazon, for example, after this is over, right? If they have, it'll probably be double, triple the business they had before the crisis.
Yeah, I think because everybody's going digital now. I mean, you can't physically go to stores, so I think purchase behavior in consumers has changed drastically, right? The way we order food, the way we go to Publix. I know Instacart, people are relying heavily on Instacart to go get groceries.
Right.
They don't want to come into contact with individuals within the store, and it's honestly almost like an opportunity for some businesses, because a lot of the ones who are going digital, right, or have these like omni channels set up, they're still able to maintain their revenues just because they have all these channels where they can make sales, right? So like Publix is a great example. Ceviche, same. The restaurants here in Miami, they're taking advantage of Uber Eats, Postmates, Instacart, and they're selling online. So it'd be interesting to see how that changes once, or how consumer purchasing changes after it's all over, right? I mean, we're almost building habits here, because So I see this happening over the course of like maybe 2-3 months. And like you mentioned, if somebody who's preparing for everything to come back up, if they already have been taking advantage of having all these channels set up, they've acquired new customers, right?
Consumers are going to be more willing than ever to buy groceries online and to buy food online. So that's welcome news for restaurants and grocery stores, because basically they reduce a lot of costs with that kind of business, right? So let's say that, for example, on average, you had a 20 to 25% of your revenues. If you're good at it on the online side for takeouts and deliveries, that could probably go up to 30-35% after the crisis, and that's a lot of money. I mean, and the thing is also that it's going to change consumer behavior forever, also, right? So that's another thing I'm really thinking about, how this will affect consumer behavior. I don't know exactly what will happen, but it's not like everything will go back to normal after this is over. Right? They're already talking about a comeback of the virus in the fall. That could be a problem. So I guess we'll wait and see.
Yeah, but I think, and I think I'll leave it at this, that since there's so much that we don't know what's going to happen, but at the end of the day, I think these shifts that you mentioned, they are becoming habits. And I think that could be something that's a little exciting and something that people could look forward to if they are proactive. Because they can be one of the first or one of the few to take action early, and they can reap the benefits, which I know is something that is always ideal for companies to do if they can.
Right. And another important trend that I think will be, appearing after this is over, has to do with the growth of local businesses, right? Communities will understand that they have to support local entrepreneurs, especially on the food side. I mean, this will be welcome news for farmers markets and everything that has to do with local manufacturers. People will be looking for fresh, natural, preservative-free, no flavors added, more than ever, right? Because of this, they will want to know what they eat more than ever after this is over.
Perfect. So Cesar, before we end, I'd like to provide you an opportunity to be able to maybe pitch something to someone or to the viewers that are watching this, or maybe give them maybe your favorite quote, something, so that we can end this meeting and people can leave with like a little bit of a call to action. You know, it's always good to give people an opportunity to be able to accomplish something right after.
Well, I always tell my clients and everybody else that there are only 4 ways to grow a business. Don't do anything else because it doesn't work. One has to do with innovation. I mean, if you're not riding the emerging market trends of the market, if you're not innovating at least every year, you are not taking advantage of where the growth is. Regular markets grow no more than 4 or 5% a year. That's about same size as inflation. So if you're not doing anything new, you will not grow. But some emerging trends in some of the markets will be growing 15, 20, 30, 40, 50, 100%. And even though those segments are a lot smaller than what the main market offers, there's a lot of growth in there. So you need to balance everything you do with innovation in order for you to ensure growth in the long term. And the other thing is taking, and you've heard a lot about this from me, but taking care of your customers, right?
Definitely.
Sometimes we do not understand that business growth comes from current customers, and we keep looking incessantly for new customers, not understanding that every new customer brings a new acquisition cost that you need to recuperate. And basically think that most of the customers you already have, you already paid for them, and you're like, at this point in time, trying to get them either to break even or profit out of them, right? And if you're not doing your job well enough, you could be in this horrible cycle of not making enough clients of the, enough money of the clients you already acquired, in which case those clients you already paid for are not profitable. And worse than that, looking for additional clients that will cost you money and will definitely drive your expenses up. So the only way to make a business profitable is to take care of your customers accordingly, building your lifetime customer value curve as efficient as possible, and also, you know, taking a lot of care on innovating, on doing a lot of research, understanding emerging market trends, and designing products to ride those emerging market trends.
Perfect. So with that being said, if you want to connect with Cesar, I will be including his link for his LinkedIn profile, so you're able to connect with him, as well as Julio and my LinkedIn profile URLs that you connect with us. So I hope that you liked this video, that you found it useful, that you found it educational, and I invite you to stay in touch with us. We will be having an upcoming video very soon with an advertising expert who's going to be discussing how you can be able to withstand this coronavirus and its impact for those that are in the CBD industry. So thank you again for watching. If you have any questions, please reach out to us, and we hope that you stay safe and have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.